Hello there, everybody, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 11. That's right, you heard it correctly, 11 of NSIC Weekly Podcast. Anybody else out there asking, ain't the season about over yet? My name's Tom Frederick. I'm the announcer for the University of Sioux Falls. This show is led by my pod partner, Matt Witwicky. He's the guy who has supper about 6 o'clock, and then again, just for fun, has to eat something about 9. Just look at him. I guess you'll know the reason why. He's also the type of guy who hides candy from his kids at Halloween. He's a guy who I wouldn't put anything on the message board in the forum section that you don't want to have a fight over. And he's the same guy who coerced me into co-hosting this little gig. D2's Northern Sun Conference columnist, the man you know as Whit. Whit, I see you've got your Halloween costume on as we're recording this on All Hallows Eve. Whoop. I guess you don't have your Halloween costume on. You just look that way every day.
Yeah, nothing wrong with being casual. And you know what? I've already gotten this whole Halloween thing figured out. I got the candy bucket on the chair at the front door with the light on. And any of those kids who decide that they want to go trick-or-treating in the 30-degree weather with the cold wind we have, they can go ahead and read the sign I have posted that says "Take 2" on the Tootsie Roll sucker bucket I left out there. And if somebody happens to take a whole bunch, well, then they take a whole bunch.
Man, you are a trusting soul, not me.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the doorbell to ring, and then I'll disseminate those little fun-sized candy bars, one Barner or Scrooge.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Let me ask you this, my friend. When it comes to Halloween stuff, because obviously, you know, that's where we're at right now. Do we have any visual evidence?
None
of you
whatsoever.
in different costumes?
I don't remember wearing a costume as a kid. I've never worn a costume as an adult. But something tells me you're the type of human who gets into dressing up. That's because when you call me on the phone, you ask, what are you wearing? But I'm sure you're happy to share some pictures, right, of what you look like.
You would never ask. Well, let's go ahead and delve into some of this. I might have worn a costume on Halloween before. You know, I have kids, so I've kind of gone ahead with that. But, you know, maybe a little bit before that time, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, maybe 20. I might have gone ahead and done a little Drew Carey there, which was me in a suit and tie with the thick black glasses. The bad thing was it was a costume that won me some money at a few different parties because I looked so much like him back in the day with a crew cut and the whole thing. You want to know who that is there with me?
That's Jeremy Van Rokel.
That sure is. That's former USF basketball player he had a cup of coffee with the Cougars basketball, and he was the Tooth Fairy, in case you couldn't figure that one out.
All right.
Okay, that's our first one. We have 3 beauties here, okay?
Oh, my God.
The next one, years later, when there was a famous heavy-set coach for the New York Jets who is still on television right now doing ESPN stuff.
Rex Ryan.
Yep, there I am as Rex Ryan with my headset and my Jets hat, and I had a pillow in my stomach because we all know I am not that fat. And
you have a thing for feet like Rex did?
No, nothing of the sort. And I really didn't need one for the costume. But no, so the best thing is we were at again yet another contest. I know I understood the joke, and one gal, I'm standing at the front of this big sports bar, and the gal on the mic introduced me as the head coach of the Green Bay Packers.
Mike Holmgren.
Didn't really go over as well as it could have with that kind of introduction, but
no.
And then most recently, 5-6 years ago, here I am as Chewbacca with my boys who are dressed up in their full Star Wars outfits, and there's a name for what they are, but I can't remember what they call them. Something or other troopers or Somebody in the comments will correct me on all of that. The funny thing is that they were sitting inside the house, and I came in through the sliding glass door with this outfit on, scared the shit out of them. But
Can you say that on this podcast? Are we working blue tonight?
bosses gave us okay to say that word. But so that's a little bit of our history with that. I need to save a few others for next year. Okay.
Yeah, you better. I'm speechless after all that. That Rex Ryan one. Wow, that was pretty good. I enjoyed that. When you're speechless when recording a podcast, so that doesn't work well. It doesn't bode well. So what do you say we get this thing rolling with a look at the week that was? Recognized by the Northern Sun Intercollegiate Conference for their production on the field on October 28th, first of all, on offense, MSU Moorhead quarterback Jack Strand, a sophomore from Bloomer, Wisconsin. He threw for over 300 yards in the Dragons' 20-17 win over Winona State. He had 2 touchdown throws, 315 yards total offense on the day, and during the contest, he snapped the Dragons' single-season passing yards record in that 3-point win over Winona State. Jack Strand, offensive POW.
Feels like he's won this a few times before this year. Between he and Mr. Bone, they has anyone else won it? It feels like, but
Sheen Butler lost, that.
Yeah, yes. My first thought was he wins this award on what's a down day for him, if we're going to be really honest here. Held below his averages, but there wasn't another performance in league that really jumped off the page. And you know what? Even a bad performance for him, for Jack Strand, is a great performance for a whole lot of other players.
Right. The guy in the middle there in the snowstorm is Wayne State safety Tanner Cooper. He's a senior from Oakley, California. He had to be loving it on Saturday playing in the snow. He had 2 interceptions. One of them was a 64-yard pick six in the Wildcats' 14-12 upset win over number 12 Augustana. Cooper also recorded a pass breakup, and he had 1 tackle in that Wildcats victory.
In watching this game, when he got his pick six, he looked like he was running like there was no snow on the ground. He had no problems. So it was kind of funny watching it. At the same time, I was thinking as he was marching in, I was thinking this could be a really, really big score because offense was real hard to come by in those conditions, and it ended up being a huge score.
Yep. Augustana's unbeaten season ending down in Wayne, America on Saturday. And finally, on special teams, Concordia St. Paul kicker Peyton Oy, a senior from Champlin, Minnesota, there in the Twin Cities, he had an 8-point outing against his former team in a 20-14 win over Northern State. Oy hit a pair of second-half field goals, the go-ahead kick from 29 in the third quarter, and then a season-long 45-yarder in the fourth that made it 20-14. He also made both of his PAT attempts. You can truly say he was instrumental in beating his old team. Take that, Wolves, said Peyton Oy.
Yeah, that's got to be pretty sweet for Peyton Oy. And there's no doubt about it. In a low-scoring game like this, those are some huge moments, no question.
Our recap of Week 9 shows the NSIC no longer has an unbeaten squad. It let the cat out of the bag. Augustana lost on Saturday, so they joined Mankato, Bemidji, all with 1 loss. They are all in the playoff hunt yet. Whit will have more about the playoffs later in the regional rankings segment of the show. In the non-conference battle on the 28th of October, USF lost to second-ranked Pittsburgh State of the MIAA, dropping the NSIC's out-of-conference record here in 2023 to 6-4. Whit, You've got the standings up there. If you would please give us your take on the league with just 2 games remaining.
Well, we clearly have, the 3 at the top there that are the ones that are really in playoff contention. Then as we kind of move down the page, a few surprises as we kind of got to, Winona, Northern, and USF. We all thought they would probably be a little bit closer to that playoff discussion than they have been. I've kind of felt throughout the year, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of move it down a little further here. as we move down the page, I felt all year that Concordia is better, than the record suggests if we go ahead and move down that page. But they're kind of starting to get in with this middle crowd right here. Southwest Minnesota State, I don't think we would have guessed them to be 1-8 at this point, after having 4 wins last year. What are some of your takes as you kind of look at the list?
I think those 3 at the top, they established their credibility right out of the gate. Duluth is much better than I thought they would be. Moorhead has improved vastly. Wayne State, trying to build on last year's playoff team. I don't know if they're going to get back to the second season. Winona, Northern, Sioux Falls, all underperforming, and the others, they're about where I thought they would be.
Fair enough.
All right, keyboard wizard, pull up last Saturday's results, would you please?
I will. You're pretty anxious to get to them, I know.
Yeah, work your magic with them fingers. I know they're kind of sausage-like, but
yeah. Whoa.
We open with the snowstorm in Wayne. All righty. The Wildcats pinned the first loss of the season on August 10 of 14-12. Wayne State gained about 90 yards, but gave up about 70 on bad snaps in bad weather, leading to a safety right out of the chute. Augie led it 2-0 in the first inning. In the first quarter. Augie had about 300 yards of total offense, but ended up losing nonetheless, 14-12.
Yeah, in watching this game, the fact that Wayne finishes, with 20 yards offense and all that kind of stuff is just wild. Let's watch a little bit of the video and kind of see how things look there. Ooh. Well, you went down to have a good game in Wayne, and you got this. They're getting to the quarterback right away. Bauman's going to throw. He got picked 3 times. He was like 1-9 at halftime and kind of struggling as they were down 14-2 at half. Here's the pick 6 we talked about, and we're just flying right there, Tanner Cooper. And as the game kind of continues here, Wayne ends up with 3 first downs for the entire contest. Epperson, who had a very strong day, fumbles here amidst the turnovers that Augustana struggled with. They were able to remove the ball, but it was just a matter of key turnovers like Bauman throws another pick here at the very end, and it was just one of those games, Tom, that I think Augie's going to be shaking their head about, saying we were unbeaten and we got ourselves in a schmaz of a game like this, and and all of a sudden we're no longer unbeaten, and now we're at risk for the playoffs and everything else.
Mr. Vocabulary with the use of the word schmaz again. The other thing here that I need to make mention of, you're always complaining about the far away look on the video. That one was so close, I couldn't make out anything. They were right in my grill, for crying out loud.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think there is good video from that game, to be really honest.
All right. Let's move on here. Moorhead at home against Winona. 20-17, Dragons take it. Jack Strand, as I mentioned earlier, player of the week. Sophomore QB, 300-plus yards passing, 2 more TD throws on the year. He's at 3,300 yards plus through the year for the season and 32 touchdown passes here in 2023. Jack Strand, he may get my vote for player of the year. You never know.
Well, he's averaging 100 yards passing more than the next guy. Yep. And that's Brandon Alt. But don't get me wrong, Alt's not being asked to sling the ball around like he has in the past as much, but nonetheless, in this game it was interesting. Dragons were up 20-3 in this one, and Winona battled back. Kept the Moorhead passing game a little bit below its average, and credit to the Dragons defense for holding Winona away for the win at the end there. And the Moorhead defense has gotten better as the year continued. They're currently 6th in the league in scoring defense, which isn't something we're accustomed to praising them for in the recent past.
USF scored 40 against them, but I thought they played much better than a team that was giving up 40 points in the course of a contest.
Sure.
Moving on, Bemidji State and Duluth. That was last week's Game of the week in the NSIC at Molosky Stadium in the Twin Ports. Bemidji jumped out to a 28-10 halftime advantage. Brandon Alt threw for 2 touchdowns. Sage Booker ran for more than 100 yards. He scored twice, 2 long runs. Those 2 items, more than enough to offset Bulldogs quarterback Kyle Walljasper, who had a typical day, 2 touchdown passes, more than 100 yards rushing, and 2 touchdowns on the ground. 38-31 Bemidji in the game of the week.
Yeah, Bemidji goes up to Duluth and frankly kind of punches them in the mouth in the first half. Scored the first 2 touchdowns right off the bat, and it felt like Duluth was kind of getting a standing 8 count right away. But let's go a little bit to the video we have here. Hopefully a little bit better than what we had a moment ago. Here comes Duluth right away, and Alt going ahead and running a little bit of RPO action here on the bubble. And Jake Hill, wide receiver, is really kind of coming on for Bemidji in an effort to be a nice, really compliment player in their offense. Duluth, kind of doing their thing, a little bit of a trick play there, and that's that's kind of what they've become known for over the years, is being able to really have a variety of stuff. Here we go. We've got a wide open score, blown coverage as Duluth tries to make their comeback in this one. But as you kind of talked about, they had too big a hill to climb. At the end of the game, they had a chance to get the ball back, and Bemidji just did not give it back to them. And Bemidji closes it out and essentially moves now to what are they, 8-1 and in a great spot.
Boy, that throw to Deshaun Ames looked like Walljasper was attacking the USF defense there for a minute.
I am low on line 2 right now.
Yeah. Pitchforks in hand. Mary hosted Minot State in Bismarck on Saturday, and the Marauders got their first win of the year. They got off the schneid, winning the Battle of the Lake. Minot, though, made it interesting. They were down 27-7. It finishes 27-23. Marauders now 1 win. Minot State 1 win.
Well, and here is Mary, and celebrating with a trophy win, and it felt really. You never want to see a team go through a campaign without a W, and they were kind of running that risk a little bit here because we're getting late in the season, 2 weeks left, and they were able to pull off kind of the rivalry game here. So that's kudos to Mary. As you look further into this, neither team was real prolific offensively. Neither one reached 250 yards. Amir Bankhead had a 53-yard score early in the game that really paced the Marauders. They never looked back. Miles West, running back from Minot, that you got a chance to see, he's really kind of become their situation. Had over 30 carries in this game, went for 147 and scored twice. But now, both of those North Dakota teams have gotten a win over the course of the last few weeks.
Was that a Jersey Shore reference there? He's become their situation.
That was no. I'm amazed that you know something that recent. I know that's over 10 years ago, probably now.
I got it, Snooki. Don't worry about it. I find
wow! Look at you go.
There.
Now you're just showing off.
In North Dakota, it was sunny, not a cloud in the sky on Saturday. You get in Nebraska, you had snow. You get in Kansas, where I was at, we had miserable conditions and rain. Go figure at this time of year.
Exactly.
All right, next up, Northern State ventured to the capital of Minnesota, St. Paul, Concordia St. Paul's Seafoam Stadium. Northern had its 3-game win streak ended. We mentioned Peyton Oy stuck it to his former squad. He's the special teams player of the week. Jalen Richardson, another great game. He's near the top of the running back statistics in the NSIC. He had 150 yards on the day plus a touchdown.
You can't say I didn't warn about this, Todd. Remember last week when we were discussing this with Jeff Filling and I said, not sure how much I trust Northern on the road. They're getting away from the bank, and they haven't been good there and everything else that came with it. And sure enough, now Jake Adams, who we talked about a week ago, their freshman linebacker, he had another 14 stops. I figured I'd just mention that. But the big deal in this one, Concordia was 6 sacks. Remember when Concordia was hosting USF, and you and I talked a little bit about the Golden Bears. I said, look out for that pass rush. And I think they're sneaky good that way. And this one really ended up being the difference in the ballgame.
Moving on, and a recap of Week 9. Minnesota State Mankato at home at the Blake entertained Southwest Minnesota State. The stats were much closer than what the scoreboard reads, 30-12 Mavericks. In the end, Mankato beat SMSU for the 21st straight time, 21-0 against the Mustangs through the years.
This was kind of a slow going one. And, with that, Sheen Butler-Lawson went over 100 yards in this one, went for 115, but he rushed 21 times to get there, didn't score on the ground. Still he seems to kind of lack being dynamic over the last month or so. So, I'm not sure exactly what's happening there. But Hayden Eckern threw for 3 scores. Mankato is going to have to become a little bit more dynamic in these last few weeks to really finish strong, in my opinion. Now, as you mentioned, Southwest threw for 277, and they've shown progress in the passing game. But in this case, it was because the rushing game was also being shut down at the same time.
Last but not least, my game, the Gorillas of Pittsburgh State methodically put away the University of Sioux Falls Cougars, who saw their string of 28 consecutive winning seasons ended with their 6th loss of the year. Pitt State, 2nd ranked or 3rd ranked, depending on the poll you look at. They're the top team in Super Region 3. They rolled up 55 points, but I wasn't as impressed with the Gorillas as I have been with some of the other teams I've seen this fall, i.e., Mankato, Duluth, Augustana. The defense, though, was salty. I'll give them that. We didn't really get to sample the game day experience in the jungle in Pittsburgh because the weather was crappy. It was raining and low 40s with a northeast wind at 15 to 20. It wasn't great to be outside.
Pitt does not wow you as an onlooker. Offensively, they're kind of meat and potatoes. And they don't do a whole lot of loud things, and the biggest thing with them is defensively how good they are. And the fact that the Cougars only were able to muster 2 field goals, that's if you take a look at a lot of the other Cougars games against the better teams in the league, they've been able to have a lot more success offensively than that. Yep. So I think that's the biggest difference you really see with them.
Threw for under 100 yards on the day. Their top 3 wide receiver choices were out. That didn't help.
Right.
2 weeks remain. Right. Who do you see as the NSIC Player of the Year? And who do you think might be in the running for Coach of the Year honors?
The Player of the Year is a tough one because Sheen Butler-Lawson, it's kind of his to lose.
Strand.
And I think he might be.
Strand.
And so I think it probably ends up becoming Jack Strand. Yes. And Coach of the Year, I think, is a no-brainer. I think that's Steve Lockway, because if you take a look, he does a lot more, at least perceived with less, than a lot of the other coaches are in this league. If you really take a look at it here, they are, the receivers, smaller guys who go battle for the football. They're not a team that people are going to say is the best in the trenches. Yet, you know what? They're stopping teams in the running game inside, and they are doing all kinds of things that seem to, go against what you would think Moorhead would be able to do. I can't say enough about what they've been able to accomplish.
They are definitely, in my mind, too, punching above their weight. And I can't have any bones about it. I go with your pick of Lockway for Coach of the Year, and I think Jack Strand should get Player of the Year. Granted, there are still 2 weeks left, so things can change.
Yep.
Boss's Pizza and Chicken is the exclusive NSIC weekly sponsor. They've got a new entity that is on fire. It's called firstandtenders.com. It's a ghost chicken. It's associated with Boss's Pizza and Chicken, but it's called firstandtenders.com. Separate website, separate, you name it. These chicken tenders are a delivery or a pickup item only. You can't buy them at Boss's Pizza and sit down and eat them there. They're available at only 2 Sioux Falls locations and the Boss's locale in Brookings. Sorry about that. I'm getting some messages on my phone and my laptop here, and Wit's upset with me because I don't know how to turn off.
Dinner's done. Dinner's done.
Yeah. These are the best chicken tenders you can find. They're coated with buttermilk. They're hand breaded when you order, so they are crispy and fresh when you either pick them up or have them delivered. They've got 15 different sauces for dipping, and they've got 20 different dry rubs to apply to the chicken tenders. All the meals come with fries. You can choose from multiple sides, zesty coleslaw, hearty potato salad, beans, and even hot and mild wings if you'd like some bones with your chicken. Online ordering only at firstandtenders.com from Boss's Pizza and Chicken. Time now, Whit, to review the regional rankings put out there by the NCAA. This week's listings are by strength and not by alphabet. Thank God for that. In 2 weeks, the top 7 in each of the 4 super regions will make the playoff field. The top seed in each of the 4 super regions gets a first-round bye. They need that this time of year to get healthy. The surviving teams that reach the national semifinals in late November, they will be seeded 1 through 4. Seeds 2, 3, 4 in the first round host games. Yep. Seeds 5, 6, and 7 going to be visitors, and they will match up based on proximity first. They want to avoid flights if at all possible. The NCAA does. So that means they could shift somebody from Super Region 4 to Super Region 3 and vice versa if necessary. This could be an interesting deal come, the last day of the week, the last day of the season is the 11th, so it's announced on the 12th, the playoff field. The NSIC is in Super Region 4. Conferences primarily from out west, the RMAC, and down south, the Lone Star, are the 2 primary conferences that are as strong as the NSIC, or maybe even stronger. And then after pouring through all this data that's up on the screen there, something that's making my eyes gloss over. What are you seeing here? Super Region 4. Who's in, who's out at this point?
Now, we could have gone and looked at like the NCAA's page, but I'll be real frank with you, Tom. It's got very pedestrian info. So I went to my buddy Inkblot, and he's Inkblot Sports. If you want to go ahead and pull up his page, anybody go look it up. He goes ahead and accumulates all the numbers and has this stuff on the ready. So as we take a look, Tom, all the way to the far right-hand column, you can see where it says RR for regionally ranked, and it's going to show where each team is regionally ranked. Well, that's no different than what you'd find on the NCAA site. However, we're able to see a lot more depth of information on this page. Now, the thing that's probably the most important on here, other than obviously wins and losses, is your SOS, your strength of schedule, which is kind of that from the name going from left to right. It's the third column over. You'll notice Colorado Mines has a 628 strength of schedule. This will probably have them as the number 1 seed on all the land, because they're going to be unbeaten. They're going to have 5 wins over 500 or better opponents, and their SOS is that high. So the question then becomes, how do the Northern Sun teams look on this page? Because right now, this most recent release they had kind of gives the false impression that the Northern Sun is going to be on the road, because you mentioned, Tom, seeds 5, 6, and 7 would end up being on the road, which is true. However, this is always a snapshot in time, and the Northern Sun has some big football games still left to be played. Not this week, but the next week are the really influential ones on these numbers. When Augustana hosts Bemidji, and when Mankato hosts Duluth yet. Now, for those who are wondering, why don't I see Duluth on this page? Duluth's strength of schedule is 419. Now, Tom, if you take a look at those strength of schedule numbers I just mentioned, 419 looks really, really low. So it's unfortunate for Duluth that their strength of schedule based on, who they played is really low here. Now, they're going to get a little bit of a bump going up playing Mankato, but it's not going to bring them even to 500, probably more like 450, 460 by the end of the year. So that's why Duluth is probably 12th overall on this list, since they only list 10 for us. Now, one other thing I kind of want to mention while we're here is what I see happening is I see in the next few weeks, by the time we are done with the regular season, I think you're going to see Mankato on the 2 line, okay? Because their strength of schedule is going to go up. They're going to have more wins over teams that are 500 or better. And at the same time, you're going to see Western Colorado's strength of schedule go down because they have easy games left, okay? You also have Central Washington having to play against UTPB, University of Texas Permian Basin. So one of those 2 teams is going to drop because of a loss. Okay. So what I'm expecting to see if I were to have my crystal ball and we were to go simply by who the favorites are, you would have Mines number 1 at the end of the regular season. You would then have Mankato number 2. You would have Bemidji number 3 if Bemidji were to beat Augustana, which is probably their favorite in that game. Then if we kind of continue on down the page, we would have Western as 4th. We would have UTPB 5th. We would have Central Washington 6th, and Augie would be 7th. Now, if Augustana were to win, they can kind of play some of that role that we talked about and be a 2 or 3 seed. So that is a huge game. My thought is either Bemidji or Augie is going to host, depending on who wins that contest. Okay. Now, Tom, the problem that we're going to have here, okay, is the top 7 make it. And if those 7 make it like we just talked about here, I want to show you a map. Okay. And this map is going to show us if those 7 teams make it like we think they can. And the only way I think Augie's not making it here is if Augie were to lose to Northern and lose to Bemidji, that brings Wayne State into the conversation, okay, because they've beaten Augie head to head. Otherwise, when we look at this graphic, you're going to have Bemidji, Mankato, and Augie all up there. Then, Tom, you know what the problem is? To get to the closest opponent, it's over 600 miles to Golden, where Mines is at, okay, Colorado Mines. So if that's the case, you're going to see a Northern Sun matchup in round 1 if any one of those teams isn't hosting or traveling. You know what I mean? So unless you have all 3 teams hosting or all 3 teams traveling, you're going to see some type of matchup like Augie at Mankato or something like that.
I know
Okay.
Duluth is sitting way down, as you mentioned, because of their strength of schedule, but I see them beating Mankato in the final week of the season. And that might throw a monkey wrench into your hypothesis there.
They would still have too far to go in all likelihood. Duluth can make it if they have a ton of help.
Yep.
Okay. So Duluth would need Augie to lose out. You know, they would obviously have to beat Mankato. Then from there, they would probably even need a little bit of help with one of the other teams kind of losing out as well.
Can you imagine a 3-loss Wayne State getting in front of Minnesota Duluth with 2 defeats?
Well, they will have a high enough strength of schedule,
right.
And they will have a win over Duluth.
Yeah. Okay.
So that doesn't help Duluth any. Duluth is not cheering for Wayne State right now. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
But so there's a whole lot that's still out here. But right now, if you were to ask me, Whit, at the end of the season, what are our possible matchups? I would really be looking at the following. I would end up seeing. I would probably look at something like Augie at Mankato if Augie were to lose, to Bemidji. Then from there, I would look at UTPB down south in Texas. Well, they're nowhere near anybody. So they're going to have to fly nonetheless, and they would be flying to Bemidji. That'd be interesting. Okay. Then and the reason I say that is because I don't think they would send Permian Basin to Western Colorado, who they've already played this year. Okay, that's a repeat game. Why have a repeat game if you can avoid it? Mines would have the bye, so they're not playing anybody round one. And that would leave Central Washington, if they were to lose to Permian Basin, which I think they're going to, that would have Central Washington heading to Western Colorado. So you'd have Western Colorado hosting Central. You would have Mankato hosting Augie. You would have Bemidji hosting Permian Basin. This is all just in the WIT crystal ball, which will likely break this weekend just because this stuff always changes. But this gives you a picture, though, Tom, of how far everyone else is away from the northern sun to make reasonable travel a real thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. As part of the national show on Sunday nights, you guys seeing anything surprising from the other super regions, the one that doesn't include the northern sun?
Yeah, I mean, I think the quick observations would be, Pitt State, who just played Sioux Falls and non-con, they're going to be the number one seed in Super Region 3. Northwest Missouri State will have 20 straight seasons of making the playoffs. That's going to be broken this year. They will not be in right now. They're a 500 ball club. Ferris State, who's the defending champs out of Michigan, they're right now, they're not in the dance top. And they need to win out, and they will then be on the road, not playing any home games. So that's kind of a big thing. Then from there, Valdosta State is back in the mix. They would be hosting right now. Tremaine Jackson, former USF defensive coordinator from years back, and Shepherd from the recent past with Tyson Bagent. They're likely out. Slippery Rock seems to be the heavy favorite in the northeast part of the country. And that's kind of a quick look at some of the big things happening nationally.
You mentioned Tyson Bagent. How do you think he's doing for your Chicago Bears?
I think he's doing about as good as he can, considering it's the Bears who have a bad offensive line. I don't have much faith in the coaching staff and everything else. So the fact he's 1-1 right now, kudos to him.
All right. What do you say we move away from the regional rankings, the potential playoff scenarios, and then preview here week 10 in the NSIC? Mr. Fingertips, bring up the schedule there. Good deal. Here we go. First off, high noon, Bismarck, North Dakota at the bowl there. We've got Southern, I had my eyes worked on this morning, and my vision is still not 100%. They dilated my pupils, and I just can't focus. 1-8 at the University of Mary, 1-8. The folks at the Massey Computer Ratings Company, entity, organization, whatever you want to call them, they say Mary is favored by 1. The Mustangs have dropped 8 in a row. The Marauders are coming off their first win. I'm going to go with the home team here. You, Mary.
Well, as the kids would say, we're starting off with a banger here.
Is that what this is?
Yes. No, it's kind of a joke, but anyway. So I've gone back and forth on this one. I kind of like Mary at home, but you know what? I think Southwest kind of is going to see a little bit of breathing room here for them to get themselves another W. Last year, they had a tough one up in Mary early in the year, but won. I'm going to take Southwest to find a way in this one.
Interesting. As Artie Johnson would say from Laughing years ago, very interesting, but strange. All right. Concordia St. Paul, 3-6 at Minnesota Duluth, 7-2. Massey says Bulldogs by 30. Tom says you.
Well, as I take a look at this here, buddy, we've talked about UMD really disposes of teams that are on the lower portion pretty handily typically. But I think Concordia is playing well enough right now that they can hang around for a bit here. I don't think they win by 30, but I do have Duluth winning. I'm not able to hear you right now, buddy. You're buffering a little bit. So you know what? While you're buffering, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to introduce the game, and then when you come on back, we'll take a look at it. The next game that we have, guys, is Tom is kind of checking his settings there. We've got Minnesota State Mankato, who's 8-1, at Winona State, who's 4-5, and this one's a 1 o'clock start. We've got the line has this game, according to what we've got here from Massey. We've got the Mavs by 10, and as I look at Mavs by 10, and I'm welcoming Tom back in. Tom, how are you? Let me hear you chat.
Hi, Chad.
You're good.
Good.
Okay. Did you take care of those trick or treaters?
Yeah, Mavs favored by 10.
Yeah.
I got them covering on the road. Whit, what do you got them as?
Favorites? Yeah, my first thought, it kind of seems like a light number, but Winona plays darn good at home, buddy. Darn good. I think Winona's going to make this a pretty stubborn game for the Mavs. I wouldn't even be shocked if Winona were to somehow find a way to win this one at home, but I am going to take Mankato.
I think you would be shocked if Winona won because
I would not.
You got Minnesota State on the 2 line when it comes to the playoffs. You'd be shocked.
We'll see.
Next up, Moorhead, Bemidji. This is a rivalry game. You know what the rivalry is called, Whit?
The battle for the X.
Okay, I set you up. I put that on the tee for you. I like the improvement shown by the Dragons this fall, and their quarterback is the real deal. But Bemidji State's very good. The Beavers, in my estimation, will emerge victorious, although I don't think they cover the spread of 17, according to Massey.
Neither do I. And I'm really interested, though, to see, Moorhead gave Mankato every bit they could handle, 21 all at half. They end up losing by, 3? I think Moorhead's going to give them a darn good game. I just think Bemidji is a little bit too complete, and I think they're going to be able to throw the football down the field against Moorhead.
Moving on, at Bob Young Field, Saturday at 1 o'clock, USF hosting Wayne State. Cougars 3-6. Wildcats are 6-3. Wayne is favored by 3, according to Massey. Sioux Falls has lost 3 in a row this fall. Cougars haven't dropped 4 straight in a season since 1993. They should have won this game last year. They let it slip away. I think they end Wayne's faint playoff hopes on Saturday. How do you like them apples?
Ooh, okay. Well, you are down in the standings, so I understand that you have to take a few shots. I think Wayne State is just a few chapters ahead of Sioux Falls right now in the book. I think Sioux Falls is just a very young squad. And if they can go ahead and get things going like they had been offensively, like if Slykehouse comes back and some other things like that, I would give the Cougars a puncher's chance because of that offense. But I'm going to have to go with Wayne. I think that they have their playoff lives are still out there, even if hanging by a thread.
All right, put your fingers to work again here. Scroll up a little bit on the screen so everybody watching at home can see the remainder of the Week 10 schedule. The next one is an out-of-conference game. Minot State goes to the UP, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, to play Michigan Tech. Minot at 1-8. Michigan Tech is 4-4. The Huskies, they're favored by 25. This week's out-of-conference contest has the Beavers traveling a long way, only to get saddled with another loss.
Yeah, Michigan Tech the last few weeks has played Ferris State and Grand Valley. I don't think that that's going to be kind of the same competition for them. I'd love to see Minot go in there and surprise them, but at the same time, I think Michigan Tech just has too much because they were able to hang around with both of those teams a little early in their ball games, and they only lost by Ferris by 2 scores, which Ferris can be pretty darn good. So I'm taking Michigan Tech to roll in this one.
Final game of Week 10, 2 o'clock start. in Aberdeen, Northern State hosting Augustana Northern at 4-5. Augustana sitting at 8-1. The Vikings are favored by 14, according to the folks at Massey. Augie's undefeated season is over, but the playoffs are still within reach. They can't afford another loss. Northern often loses games it should win, but pulls out those in which they aren't favored. I have to go with Augustana here to prevail, though I don't think it's going to be by 14 points. It's going to be closer than that, but Augie wins it.
Well, now that you become kind of the Augie doggy of the show, it's an interesting take for you. But if this game was at night and not a 2 p.m. kick, I would entertain the idea a little bit, because night games there at the bank, Northern's got some real juice in those night games. I'll give them that. I don't think it's going to have quite the same feel at a 2:00 game and so forth. And I think Augie probably was the better team a week ago, but the snow really hindered them. It was really hard for them to execute. I think that they get the job done in this one and end up winning going away.
All right, Mr. Pocket Protector, break out your slide rule, your Texas Instruments calculator there, your protractor. What are the pick'em standings through 9 games?
Well, buddy, you had 3 setbacks a week ago. Northern let you down. Augie, since now you're on their bandwagon or something, they let you down. And then UMD lost to Bemidji. As for me, I picked the Wayne upset, not necessarily in the snow. Northern was my lone blemish. Maybe I should have guessed that them being away from the bank. But our guest picker, Jeff Filling, was 5-2. He had Northern and Augie both as his losses. After 9 weeks, I'm 57-6. You are fading fast at 53-10.
That's only 1 miss a week, for crying out loud. 10 in losses in 9 weeks. That's not that bad. Fading fast. What do you mean by that?
Well, 3 losses in a week is not good in this.
Well, I don't profess to be a Vegas gambler, so it is. I'm only fulfilling my obligations to you, the Lord and Master of NSIC Weekly Podcasting.
Oh, boy.
Any Jeopardy this week? Any mailbag questions? If Jeopardy, we don't need this minutia, yards per carry or catches per game questions. We need some meat and potatoes stuff if you're playing Jeopardy. If you've got questions from the mailbag, that's a different story.
Folks, don't listen to him. The reason he misses them is because we think he might be better at Jeopardy than he really is. But you don't choose the questions. We're just going to be real clear about that. Now, this time, though, we're going to have a mix of new and old. What do you think about that?
Well, there is a writer's strike, so you can't come up with new material. Well, I guess the writers did settle, didn't they?
I'm trying to give you a chance and enter some nostalgia into this.
All right, go ahead.
With your age, this could go either direction. Let's go ahead and let me get the Jeopardy music ready and make sure we've got good enough volume on it and all that. Oh, we're going to be good. Yep. Okay, so once again, for those playing at home, feel free to track how you do. Once again, don't feel like you got to share your results with us. So, Tom, here we go with the first question. There is a new lowest scoring team in the Northern Sun. Who is it?
SMSU.
Well, you've been studying up, I can see. We're not used to you starting with a correct answer. So right out of the chute, you got 1 right. I'm going to have you keep track of this because I'm busy with the questions here.
All right. 1 in the win column. Okay, go ahead.
Get the other column ready.
Yep.
What tight end leads the conference in yards?
Sam Pitts.
We just had to play the music a little bit.
Sam Pitts, UMD.
USF, Mark Leonard.
Really? Huh.
Just when you think you know your club.
He caught one ball last week for -4 yards at Pitt State. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead.
The guy gets kudos, and you push him back down. Nice job.
No, Mario, I like.
Okay, so our
Great
next
receiving
question
tight end.
is, who is the leading kick returner right now in the Northern Sun? The first tough question. Don't even give me that.
When you say kicks, you mean punts or kickoffs?
I said kicks, not punts. Kickoff.
A punt is a kick.
Kickoff returns.
I have no clue. I can't even think of a return man.
Isaiah Huber, Augustana, 29 yards per.
And he's got a kickoff return for a score, too. Yep.
He does.
And his teammate Jones is the best punt returner in the league. I would have got that one if you would have clarified it, but you didn't.
Well, you're back to 1 right, 2 wrong, right about the pace we were anticipating. Here's a whopper of a question. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Northern Sun quarterback class of 2016. There was 8 very notable quarterbacks at that point in time. The best class this conference has seen. Give me 4.
Can we settle for 3?
No,
okay,
I'm asking for half, you dope.
Okay, I got it. You ready? Jack Nelson.
Listening. Yes.
Trey
you have to name the team. Come on.
Oh, Winona, Jack Nelson.
Yes.
Trey Hyde, Augustana.
Yes.
Luke Papillion, University of Sioux Falls.
Yes.
Drew Bauer, Minnesota Duluth.
Okay, so those are probably the most predictable ones that I could think of for you.
Well, you said name 4. I named 4 of them.
Listen, you stocking cap wearing. How about I'll give you extra credit. I'll name the team. Let's see if you can remember who it was. Bemidji. He's on their staff right now.
At Bemidji. Oh, give me a different team.
Jordan Hine.
Oh, yeah, Hine. Yep, forgot about him.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All coming back to you now. Okay, Wayne State.
Zach Osborne.
Ooh, Ozzy, there you go. Southwest Minnesota State. Tall guy, could sling it.
Yeah. Can't think of his name.
Yeah, is not the answer, actually.
I believe
he's from Marshalltown, Iowa, if I remember right.
Was it Zach something or other?
No, it was Blake Gimbel.
Blake Gimbel. Yep. You're right.
Yeah. It's once I say it, you know it really well. Yeah, and then Upper Iowa.
Cole Jaschke.
No, he was before that point.
Yeah.
Who replaced Cole Jaschke and was very productive?
I have no idea. I've seen so many games over the last.
Dimitri Morales.
No, he wasn't that good.
Nope, like I'm wrong, or you don't remember.
He wasn't that good. He wasn't a Cole Jaschke, I'll tell you that.
Well, I wasn't comparing him to Cole Jaschke. Oh boy. And if you would have given me Demetrius Carr from Moorhead, I would have accepted that.
So you're saying out of 5 questions, I got 2 right, and I missed on. Well, no, I got this one right. I got 4.
We're 2 and 2, Mr. I can't count how many questions we've had. So the last one from that same year, this is going to do or die. This will either make you or break you. Most of our crowd figures break you. Who led the conference in all-purpose yards in 2016?
How do you quantify all-purpose yards? Is it different than total offense?
This would be, I'll give you this. It was a running back who returned kicks, caught footballs and ran the football. All of that good stuff.
Was he short?
He was.
Was he about 5'4"?
Yes, he was.
Was his
What
name
team
an
did he play for?
alliteration? Was his name an alliteration where the first name and the last name start with the same letter?
Yeah, boy, you're doing a good job of tiptoeing up to this. What's his name?
Did he play for Winona State?
He did. Boy, you're all the clues you're giving are great.
Was he Paul Preston?
Paul Preston, you got it right. You took long enough that you probably did look it up.
No,
Or
I
did
wanted
you
to keep.
you took so long that you probably texted Hyatt and asked him, and by the time he got back to you, you had an answer. Oh,
Okay, let me ask you one question here. You think you're so smart?
Well,
You
kinda,
ready?
but no. Why? Oh, now you have a question for me?
Yeah. This year, 2023, there is one team that has 2 rushers in the top 10 in the Northern Sun Intercollegiate Conference. Name the team, name the rushers.
University of Sioux Falls, Runnigan and Dean.
Okay. Second
I like
question.
them apples.
All right. Second question. You ready?
Oh, what is this? We're turning the tables?
Yes. Because I got to make you feel bad before we leave here.
Yeah, I just spit in your eye a second ago, but okay.
Who's thrown? What individual has thrown the most interceptions in 2023? Northern Sun.
The guy from SMSU. Marcus Miller, whatever his name is.
Marcus Martin.
I'm right.
You are correct.
That's him.
Right.
Do you have any? Okay, now that you can't seem to stump me, what else you got?
What individual leads the NSIC with most touchdowns? Now, these are questions that a lot of fans would know. You come up with stuff that's out of left field.
Oh, as if.
Who leads the NSIC in touchdowns?
Kyle Walljasper.
You're 3 for
Kyle
3.
Walljasper.
You're hot. All right.
And I bet I would say Sheen Butler Lawson's. I bet Sheen Butler Lawson's next.
Lastly, which team has punted the most?
Oh, good governor.
That's a question that Whit would come up with.
Okay. Yes.
I'll
say Mary.
All right, everybody likes a little. Nobody likes a lot. It's better to leave the audience wanting more, folks. NSIC
was that
Weekly
4 for 4? Was that 4 for 4?
4 for 4, yes.
Okay, fair enough.
This show is a production of D2Football.com. Join the D2 community every Sunday night at 7 o'clock. They do a deep dive into Division II football on X, formerly Twitter. It's on YouTube. It's also on the Facebook. If you can't watch it live on Sunday nights like this podcast, you can search it out on YouTube and watch it at your leisure. Loyal fan base, we appreciate your patronage. Happy Halloween from Tom. I want to drink your blood, Frederick. And from Matt, Count Chocula Witwicky. See you next time with another edition of NSIC Weekly.